Gohan is a very strange character in the world of manga, especially in this post-Boruto climate. The idea of a main character having a kid is basically a meme at this point. Like, it's something you say as a joke, like, oh man, I can't wait for the adventures of Buffy and Two Piece, shit's gonna go so hard. Like, the idea of the protagonist having a kid with a similar name is so crazy and such an example of bad writing, but like, God has been here the entire time. Like, literally, his name is one syllable off Goku's, yet nobody seems to want to talk about it. And I mean, honestly, I can't even blame them. The idea of Gohan and Boruto being compared is kind of like insulting to the legacy of Gohan. Boruto is a series where the peak of each arc that gets everyone excited is when Naruto and Sasuke show up to save the day, whereas most people have desperately wanted Gohan to take the wheels of the story for decades at this point. He's so intensely popular and loved by the community, where 80% of the new marketing for this DBS film coming out seems to be directed towards Gohan and Piccolo for nostalgia bait. Like, remember this guys? Remember these characters? You like them? And in all honesty, yeah, I fucking do like them. Take my money, I guess. Shit. But why is my question today? Why do people like Gohan, and how deserved is that love? Now, because I'm me, I of course categorize the types of Gohan fans out there because they're not all exactly the same, to say the least. So I think that an easy way to describe this is Gohan fans and teen Gohan fans. I feel like you guys already know what I mean by that. What it basically means is the people who love Gohan's character and the people who love Gohan's power. And hey, I'm not shitting on the second half, like, I get it, Dragon Ball's kind of like a brawlic, fighting manga. I get that power is a big deal to these people, but they do face some problems with the rest of the story, and I think it is sort of their fault, which I'll get into. Now, the first ones are the people who have basically loved Gohan's character from his very inception, if not at least fell in love with him during the run of the Saiyan Saga. And once again, we are hit with that question of why. Why did people instantly love Gohan compared to the amount of shit Boruto got when he was first introduced? Well, the biggest reason is, of course, the fact that Gohan is not the main character of Dragon Ball and did not change anything fundamental about Goku's character besides the fact that, well, he's now a dad. It's not like Goku's now weaker. It's not like he suddenly became more cynical or jaded or less caring about those around him. He doesn't have a terrible receding hairline now, and he is still the main character of the series. Gohan is simply introduced as Goku's kid and nothing else. It's only as the story continues we slowly see that there's more going on. Although, I mean, from the start, the fact that he had a tail made it very clear Toriyama had plans for this character, and that he was going to be a big deal. But honestly, it's such a smart move on Toriyama's part to not just throw Gohan into the deep end and set him up as the main character in a story that's been going on for years. Like, that will always be an uphill battle. It doesn't matter how good your character is. It will always be better to slowly make them more relevant over time with natural progression so it doesn't feel forced and plot-induced. And to build up on this idea that Gohan's introduction didn't fundamentally change Goku's standing in the manga or his character, I think what's also so great about his character, and another amazing decision by Toriyama by the way, is the fact that Gohan is the opposite to Goku in so many ways, but without having him oppose Goku. It might sound small, but the difference is huge. Having Gohan just be a little Goku might have been, fun or cute or whatever, but it was never going to create the complex, multifaceted character that Gohan ended up being. I mean, hell, Goten literally exists and is just a little Goku, and Toriyama fucking forgot that he was even ever created after the Buu saga, most likely just because he had his fun with him and then got bored. It's a shallow premise and a cheap gimmick that doesn't really last. It's why in GT and a lot of the Z filler, Goten is shown to be influenced by Trunks a lot because nobody wants to just write a second Goku when you have a perfect one already. It's a pointless character design. Where Goku is loud, blunt, naive, and hungry for battle, Gohan is quiet, sensitive, knowledgeable about the world, and dislikes fighting. This is done to purposefully make it clear Gohan can stand on itself. However, it doesn't separate them. They are still very clearly father and son, and Gohan inherits a lot of his character from Goku, even if he's not aware of it. From the very start, Gohan is shown to have Goku's kind and pure heart, his power, and eventually his tenacity, though obviously that takes a while to bloom. Either way, my point is that while Gohan is shown to be different to Goku, it's not done as a point of contention or defiance where Goku's, fucking throwing around tables about how much of a pussy his 6-year-old son is. It's literally just that his son isn't into fighting, and that's cool. He doesn't need to be. They still have a great relationship, and when Goku loves him, it's kind of hard for us not to. And this is actually super important when talking about the direction he takes as a character when he gets older. The aim is always to keep a sense of identity and self outside of his father, even as he grows closer to him over time. This is where the second group I mentioned before gets a bit confused. No matter how strong Gohan gets, no matter how edgy and cool and serious he is, he will never be Goku. And that's fucking great. The fact that through all these years, sequels and movies, Gohan's core identity has managed to stay intact is very impressive, considering how badly other characters have been treated. Now that's not to say that Gohan's writing has been perfect. Even in the original Z manga, Gohan has had a misstep, let alone Super basically resetting him back to the beginning of the Buu saga character-wise, but despite that, the core concept of Goku's son who wants to be a scholar has remained very solid through the decades. I think obviously the best showing of this was his fight against Cell, in which Gohan's core ideals and morality were brought under heavy scrutiny and questioning for a single battle to save the Earth. Gohan, who's never been a natural fighter and never had to really defeat a villain by himself, was now being pushed into a do or die, kill or be killed situation in which everyone's lives were on the line. I know there's a million and one reasons Goku forced this onto him, but for me, I do think it is extremely questionable to put all of this onto such a young child. Hell, we even see how traumatic it is when he goes Super Saiyan 2. It's a consequence of him mentally shattering, effectively becoming a different, colder, and more bloodthirsty person as a product of his circumstance. Once again, the person going through all of this hardship is the son of the main character. This is what you can accomplish if a competent writer takes the reins with this concept. It doesn't have to be this gag of a trademark bad story or sequel. I'm not sure if I really want to go in depth with discussing all of Gohan's character moments and why they're so great or so cool, because I view this as more of an objective breakdown of what made Gohan as a character so successful in the fanbase, compared to what made him as an individual so well written, because I feel like there is a valuable difference between the two. For example, the Saiyaman segment of the Buu saga, when speaking on behalf of Gohan's character and good writing, is amazing, and I love the anime's expansion on that, but in the context of the manga and the reactions to it at the time, saw a small dip in Dragon Ball's readership, leaving it to feel a bit rushed, or at least a feeling that there was more to give. This is an example of something good for his character and overall writing, but not necessarily making him more loved. This is as, besides Goku obviously not being in the manga, post-Cell saga, it seems a lot of people expected more from Gohan, or for him to continue acting the way he did against Cell, or at least something similar to that. But any Gohan fan will tell you that as a person, Gohan against Cell is him at his absolute worst and lowest. After suffering through so much physical and emotional torture, he literally just snapped and went completely insane for the next hour or so. Now, I love Super Saiyan 2 Gohan, don't get me wrong. For him to stay like that for the rest of the manga and retain that mindset would have been such a nosedive for Gohan as a person, and would have for me turned him into a completely different character. However, I think that the Cell Saga way of thinking has been dying out ever since Super started reminding people what Gohan is really about at his core. With, like I said before, the new movie coming out really pushing the Scholar Gohan motif, and most people reacting quite well to it. I guess all it takes really is a little bit of time and a lot of consistency to create such a gold standard of character writing. And that is why we love Gohan. Okay guys, so wow, I made a video. Wow, crazy. Yeah, I don't know if I'm like back. This is just like a little thing. I might make, one or two more in like the next few months. We'll see, because like obviously I was at university before, but now it's summer, so I have more time. We'll see. Anyway, end of video.